So good afternoon. Appreciate everyone taking the time to be here today with us. So right now, obviously, in our community and across the country, we're dealing with COVID-19. This is a terribly difficult time for every single person in our county. But it's also a terribly difficult time for small businesses. Since COVID-19 really started to directly impact Winnebago County, there has not been a day, and more than likely not an hour, that I have not spoken to small businesses who are devastated on two ends. They're devastated on the end of the health pandemic that we're all dealing with, but they're also devastated because they've poured their entire lives into this small business. They've taken out everything from their savings account, everything from their retirement account to help start this small business. And they've dedicated their lives, their families' lives, have poured everything into this small business. And right now, due to no fault of their own, like all of us, are dealing with an economy that's come to a screeching halt because of this COVID-19 health pandemic. And if this is a restaurant owner, if it's a salon owner, if it's a dog groomer, no matter what they are, they're impacted right now by COVID-19. In a true fashion that I think makes Rockford a really special place, our businesses have come together and said, how can we help right now where and when our small businesses need it most? Obviously, we have all been waiting on the federal government to pass their stimulus package, and they did so in the wee hours of this morning or late last night, and it was a $2 trillion stimulus package. We know with the stimulus package there's a lot of resources for small businesses, but we also know those resources, as they typically do, will take a long time to get to a Main Street where we care about most right here in Rockford. And so to step in and fill that void, the Northern Illinois Community Development Corporation is stepping up to help fill that void. Myself at the City of Rockford and the City Council, and before I go on, I just want to make a special mention of Alderman Chad Thunberg, the 3rd Ward Alderman. I had the opportunity to serve as 3rd Ward. I think it has one of the highest concentrations in our city of small businesses. I can only imagine the number of calls he is getting from these small businesses who's asking, what are you going to do? And so today we're here to help answer part of that call of what we as a community are going to do to help small businesses. I'm really proud to announce that we are recapitalizing a COVID-19 small business emergency relief fund to help small businesses get through that 60 to 90 day window that they're going to need to survive until the federal stimulus package hits the streets. I would say, and I know we have John Phelps here who will talk more about the structure of NICDC and the opportunity that's there for small businesses. But what's really unique is you look at this, it's the City of Rockford, it's Winnebago County. Helping lead the way. It's businesses stepping up and without a hesitation. Folks like Jeff Holtman from Illinois Bank and Trust who says, how can I help? Not, oh, well, what's this going to do for me? Will we make money from this? It's no, how can we help small businesses? And that to me is what makes Rockford such a special place, is our local banks stepping up to help our local small businesses in this terrible time of need. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Jeff Holtman, who's the president of Illinois Bank and Trust, who's really done a phenomenal job. And I mean, if you look back at what we've done to help rehab homes, every time Illinois Bank and Trust steps up, and you specifically.
As Mayor McNamara said, my name is Jeff Holtman. I'm the CEO of Illinois Bank and Trust. And before I get started, just with a few words today, I want to really thank Mayor McNamara and Chairman Haney for all the leadership during this time of crisis, especially leadership around bring together local support. Business. For all the work they're doing on a daily basis to provide communication. Thank John Phelps specifically for his leadership at the RLD. Banks who are operating locally and have committed already to this process. Wintrust, Associated Bank, Midwest Community Bank, Northwest Bank, Blackhawk Bank, and Stillman Bank Corp. I also want to take a moment to specifically thank Sunil Puri and First Midwest as being the first non-bank, non-governmental entity to also participate in the fund. Collectively, we've raised approximately $2 million for small business relief. We're hopeful that other banks that operate locally in our region will participate. We're hoping that other companies or foundations or other sources of funds also choose to participate. $2 million is a fantastic, great start, but we know there's more need and more dollars would be definitely appreciated. We hope others will get on board quickly. The purpose of the funds that John will get into more detail about in just a moment are really to provide bridge loan financing to the SBA disaster relief loan. The online system that the SBA launched regarding that process is probably going to experience incredible demand, and application processing could be impacted by the sheer demand nationally. Many businesses, as Mayor mentioned, cannot wait 30, 60, 90 days for emergency funding. It's about payroll next week. These loans, we believe, could be a potential lifeline to businesses as they wait for that longer solution through the SBA. In closing, I would ask our state and federal representatives to take notice of what's been done here locally in our region. We have quickly, efficiently created a local private banking sector collaboration with our local development corp and our local governments to provide capital immediately to small business. Any state and federal dollars that want to get efficiently and effectively and quickly in the hands of our small business should consider being allocated to this effort. We more than anyone know how to get these funds out to the businesses in our community. Again, I want to thank the leadership that's here today for all that they're doing in our community. I want to thank our local banking community for stepping up in a time of need. And just in conclusion, I wish all of you safety and security and health during this trying times. And with this, I'll turn it over to John Phelps.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chairman. Chad, appreciate your support. I thought I would start with just some comments about Northern Illinois Community Development Corporation. Most people know Rockford Local Development Corporation. We've been around going on 40 years. And, but we have this organization that we helped form in 1991. As Rockford at that time, we had a revolving loan fund through Rockford Local Development Corporation, but we didn't have anything in the balance of Winnebago County or Boone County, and that was the territory of most of our banks. And so together on a collaborative basis with the Illinois Department of Commerce, we created this loan fund where we could make small business loans outside the city and in Boone County to complement what we did in the city. We managed it for a long time, ran into some capital constraints, and so we recapitalized it in 2001, added some additional banks. We went from 5 banks to 9 banks. And then a year ago, and again with strong demand for our funds, we challenged the banks and the city and the county to develop, to expand that funding. We ended up raising $4 million of additional funds. And we also reserved $1 million of that for a housing rehab program that we had launched, where we would finance small businesses that would buy foreclosed and abandoned properties for resale, to flip to homeowners, to help reestablish neighborhoods with homeowners, to bring these abandoned properties back into use for safe, affordable housing. And in the last year, we've done 18 homes. So it's been very successful. Now with this new crisis for COVID-19 and the impact on our small businesses, we responded to the plea from RADAC, the banking community, the city, the county, many others, to try and create a vehicle to help these small businesses access this SBA disaster relief program. SBA has never dealt with anything near this large. I think the largest disaster relief they've ever done is about $2 billion, and they tend to be localized. Katrina, a flood, a forest fire, something like that. This is nationwide, and it's $50 billion. The SBA is very good at automating, creating online systems, but it's going to take weeks for many of these people to see their money. And they're shut down. They have no income. They have no ability to pay any bills, and it's existential for them. So we created this program to be a bridge for them, to buy them 60, 90 days. We want them to have applied for the disaster relief. It's a great program. You can repay these loans over 30 years. It's 3.75%. And if you're under $500,000, it's almost entitlement. They're going to be looking for some minimum credit scores, but mostly they're going to check all the boxes to make sure that you've provided all the information that they require. And once you get that in and you meet their credit score, they're going to say you're approved. They're going to send you loan documents, and hopefully in a month or so you'll get your money. But it's going to take a while, and a lot of these companies don't have that time. We don't have the resources. We've raised $2 million. We hope to get more. We don't have the resources to help every small business and carry these loans for 30 years or for 2 years. Our goal is simply to get them 60 to 90 days. We'll be a resource to help them when they have questions. The SBA world is full of jargon, and you have to be able to check all the boxes, get them all the information they need. We're happy to answer those questions. We cannot do the application for them, but we can certainly guide them through it. And hopefully our funds on short-term loans will buy them the necessary time to access those funds on very favorable terms. Please, if you're a small business listening, go to sba.gov, look up, it's right on the top, COVID-19 Emergency Loan Fund, click on it. If you're frustrated by the volume, and you will be because it's way oversubscribed, hundreds of thousands of people are on that site every day, just click on, get the documents downloaded, hard paper, fill them out, send in your application, and you're going to have to be patient. It's going to take a little bit of time. But with that, I'm happy to open up for any questions that anybody might have. Oh, Chairman, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Frank Haney, Winnebago County Board Chairman, and I just want to thank the mayor for his leadership in helping spark this discussion. I want to thank longtime friend Jeff Holtman, who's been a leader in the community for many years, and of course John Phelps. Just a little bit about John Phelps. I think there's very few people that community leaders trust more than John when it comes to things of this nature. And once again, you see his organization stepping up to serve our community in a time of need. Here's something that we should talk more about in our media and in our meetings. We have our hospitals who normally compete are working together in new ways to respond to this incredible challenge. You see our banks that day in and day out compete and then turning to meet this challenge together, coming together to make a difference. This is who we are. When I think about the character and the spirit of our community, I think of many of our small business owners. My uncle owns a longtime Italian restaurant in this community. I do not know of a harder working human being, and I think he is emblematic of a lot of our business owners in this community. Our small business owners employ a large number of folks throughout this community, so when they hurt, it hurts our kitchen tables, it hurts our moms and dads, and it has a tremendous impact on our community. I think Mr. Phelps made a good point as we're talking about an immediate response, and in the short term, long-term help is on the way after the action taken by Congress last night. When you think of a strategy to come out of this, and we will together, the strategy is multifold, but one of those things, when we're asking our community, when we're asking our small businesses to stay home and respect social distancing, we also have to help everywhere we possibly can in the short term. We do know that the best long-term economic strategy coming out of this is to stop the spread of COVID-19, and want to thank the community for their support of that. So this short-term help will help. And if it wasn't for people like the mayor, for people like Jeff Holtman and John Phelps, we would not be here today celebrating another example of what is special in our community. I would also add that this will help many small businesses in the city of Rockford. It is going to help small businesses throughout Winnebago County. One of the really unique things with this program is that it is a county-wide approach in all that they do. So it helps our folks inside of Rockford and throughout Winnebago County. So with that, I will turn things back over. I'm sure there's some questions for John, but I do think it's important that this investment is being run and led by one of the single most trusted leaders in this community around loans and around this type of thing. And we're very blessed to have somebody like John who is at the helm at this organization. So with that, again, thank you, Mayor, and we'll open it up to any questions. John.
Businesses, no. Thank you. I think I'm here representing the 14 aldermen that sit on city council that are taking the calls right now from our residents and our businesses. I want to thank each and every one of them as well. I just wanted to say that I have been in contact with a multitude of businesses within the Third Ward, including downtown. I think the consensus has been that there is fear of the unknown, uncertainty as to when they're going to be able to open up for business again. And with that, though, I want to say that I am proud of each and every one of them for the resilience that they've shown. On council floor last week, I made a plea to the local banks to get out almost immediately to help with funding for these small businesses. I want to say I am amazed. I am so utterly proud of them for within a week. They are out. Mr. Holtman is leading the charge as well. For these institutions, along with a private individual, to be out this quick, getting money available to these small businesses that need it the most. I want to thank the mayor, the chairman, Mr. John Phelps, RLDC, obviously Mr. Haltman as well, City Administrator Todd Cagnoni and John Phelps for listening and taking the calls as I conveyed to them the concerns of our small businesses within the community. And getting this put together has just been phenomenal with all parties involved. So I, as alderman representing the other aldermen of the wards, would like to thank each and every one of them as well. So thank you very much.
We're looking at a very expedited underwriting process. If the borrowers could contact them, we'll send them a little checklist of information that we're going to require. And the information we're requesting is very similar to what SBA is going to require. I really want to emphasize how important it is for people that are applying. And it's maybe a poor analogy in this time frame, but it is kind of like an emergency room triage. We have to look at the borrowers who are we think are best able and quickest to get these SBA loans, because if we can make them a loan and they get their SBA loan in 30 days and pay us back, we can lend it to somebody else. So we're trying to avoid, and it's heartless to say, but if somebody doesn't appear they're going to qualify, they're a low candidate for us because we can't afford to tie up our money. We only have $2 million at this point, and that's not going to go very far. If everybody came for 50, which is what we're kind of signaling as our limit, that's only 40 loans, and that won't go very far. So we want to prioritize those who are shut down, have absolutely no income, they've maybe already been on the website or have completed an application, and look to us like they're going to qualify. Now, we don't know exactly what SBA's criteria are. We are an SBA lender, so we have a pretty good idea. We certainly understand the objective criteria: size of the business, ownership, prior arrest, kind of things like that are very objective, black and white. But that gray area, what do you qualify for on a credit rating? We don't know, but we have some idea, and we're going to use that as a guide to try and prioritize those who can get their money back the quickest, get it to us so we can get it back out. So have them contact us, we'll send them the list, and we'll work with them expeditiously. Well, our hope, and one of the things we've emphasized, is we don't want to lend money to people that are simply going to pass it through to the landlord or their existing lenders who haven't shown any consideration. We expect this is a shared pain throughout the community. If you're a landlord and you're not getting your rent, you should be talking to your lender and saying, look, my tenants can't pay me, I need some debt relief. And I think that's the expectation all of us have. If I have two people and we're down to our last dollar and one's landlord's going to defer rent and the other one expects full payment, I can tell you who we're going to work with. It's that simple. This isn't a zero-sum game where we're shuffling money through to pay somebody else. We recognize there's key employees, there's past due bills that you haven't paid. You were a restaurant, you ordered all this stuff for St. Patrick's Day, you got to pay for it, and St. Patrick's Day was canceled. So you've got big bills. Those are the kind of things. You're going to have utility bills, taxes to the state. These kind of things, wherever you can't get relief, we want to help cover those. But we're going to question people. Send us the bills that you expect to pay. What can you work with? What can we minimize? Because obviously we want to touch as many businesses as we can. So. Well, it is. We're not. Let's say you had a restaurant with 40 people and you want to keep them all employed. We don't have enough money for that. So we recognize that a lot of people are going to go on furlough and are going to lose their jobs and go on unemployment for a little while. Hopefully it's very short nature. But there are other businesses where you have very critical employees, you're an essential business, you're maybe down 70%, but you still have employees you have to pay. Those would be people that we understand that they need some funds to keep those people gainfully employed. Absolutely.
Just one other comment on that. I'd say too, not speaking for John, but from the bank's perspective, because we're dealing with similar things every day with customers, the best thing we can do is we keep those businesses kind of around. So when this thing gets better, they can rehire those people. That's probably the best strategy for longer term employment gains. To point furloughs, or people have, especially in the hospitality business, service business, they know it's painful. Hopefully the federal dollars will be some relief. But if we can help those businesses that can survive so that they can rehire quickly, I think it's one of the strategies that we'll definitely want to work with John on relative to that. Yeah, boy. See, I got myself into it. I didn't learn from these guys, So I would say we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen a lot of the tenancy distress just because we're so new into it. We will. I mean, some banks have come out with blanket programs. We have a couple blanket programs for consumer and some relief. We're taking our commercial requests one at a time, much like what John's talking about, because every situation's a little bit different. But we are considering interest-only options, some other payment options for our commercial customers as they come in as well. So I don't know if I answered your question, but. Yep. Yeah, we would deal with that situation with them. What's their payments that need to look like to us? Do we need to consider an interest-only period for some period of time? Much to John's point, there's oftentimes other circumstances too. What's their liquidity position look like? Can they manage through, to John's point, just much like a bank? We're trying to manage it all as best we can for the totality of the customers. But those will probably be the ones that we'll start getting the most calls on, is when rent payments and things probably start being challenged this month. But we would deal with those very similar to what John mentioned.
I remember years ago we had in the metro area, Boone, Winnebago County, there were like 1,000 manufacturers. So when you start adding all the restaurants and bars and salons, I've got to believe it's 10,000 it's a lot. There's a lot.
So we have made the commitment to the $250,000. We have a council meeting coming up on Monday to formally approve it, but we've contacted every single alderman, and every single alderman unanimously have supported this initiative. I think the chairman would say the same thing, is our urgency is these dollars need to get on the street. We don't want to wait to pass this on Monday to get this going. We need dollars on the street now. So our aldermen have been really, to be honest, wonderful throughout this crisis in providing us some latitude to get some programs through, as long as we're obviously communicating with them and explaining what we're doing. But they've been great. So we have a council meeting on Monday that some of us will be there and some of us will be phoning in for, but yeah. And all of them have been aware of this program and had phone calls late last week and early this week to discuss it.
Yes, good question. So we're going to be going to the board for $250,000 to match the city commitment, subject board approval. This was brought up on our board floor last Thursday. This was followed up in email. There's been a multitude of discussions with board members. All I see is immediate enthusiasm by county folks around this. What I'm hearing from folks is, of course, we want to be part of something like this. It's the right thing at the right time and the right partners. So absolutely. In terms of formally taking it to the board, we are going to have a remote board meeting that's already agendized tomorrow night. So we're just literally putting this together here and announcing it today. The board knows it's coming. It will not be on our agenda tomorrow, but when we meet next, it will be brought forward for formal approval. But what I hear from professional staff, what I hear from county board members is an enthusiasm to be part of this.
If I may, and I need to extend thanks to all of our banking partners. They're all listed here in one form or another. In the last 12 months, we have raised $6 million from them. It's an incredible sum. I have colleagues all around the country. I don't know of anybody who's done anything like this outside of, what you see in Chicago, but certainly not in communities this size. This is unique, and the banks need to be thanked. So, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good job, Dan.
Thanks.
Guys,
Jeff, I'll get you.
Later.
yeah. Store that up when we're all clear.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
It's gonna be a hell of a hug fest.
Talk to you at 2?
Yeah, and that's all just about logistic.
Yeah, I think so.
Because a couple things. I mean, where is everybody at in their approval process? Amy already reached out to Barrett, who did the last documentation. We've already put him on warning. Guys, this shouldn't be as complicated. It should be cheap, and maybe you want to make a contribution of your time to make this cheaper. So I think just operational, we need to figure out.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like every week we drop $500,000 into the line